Main Street at noon. These days it means congested traffic and limited parking. But the Longmont Downtown Development Authority has a method for its madness.
We're just trying to make it more attractive to the people of Longmont and visitors to Longmont. And hopefully that'll stimulate some new private investment. The whole purpose of the Downtown Development Authority is to encourage new investment downtown, to fix up the buildings and to fill up the storefronts and get everything back on an economically healthy basis. The work that you see on Main Street now is new water line, 8-inch water main going in, and starting the next day or two in the 500 block, they'll start putting water main laterals to each building. We will be demolishing the rest of the sidewalk and putting in new sidewalk with brick pavers, new trees and tree grates, new pedestrian lights, some historic cast iron 12-foot tall light standards, and some new benches and planters and all the rest of it. That's going to take us up till the end of fall, probably mid-November. That's our scheduled deadline for this first phase of work this year, to sort of get out of everybody's way by the bustle of the Christmas shopping season.
Until that time, the DDA suggests that motorists refrain from traveling Main Street and park in city lots off Kimbark and Kaufman. But shop owners will have to advertise their rear entrances, if they have them, or face a loss of clientele. However, DDA Executive Director Les Prentiss is confident that motorists, pedestrians, and shop owners alike will be rewarded for their patience.
This is a long overdue project, and I think everybody understands there's going to be some short-term inconvenience and problems, but that the long-term benefits, should mean more wealth for everybody, and it should be a healthier downtown. So I think everybody's taking a good attitude about living with the inconvenience for a while.
Senior Center.
Geoff Dolan is no stranger to Longmont city government. He's served the city for 6 years, first as budget officer, assistant city manager, and for the past several months as acting city manager. And he knows what qualities will enable him to successfully perform his now official tasks as city manager.
I hope I have a sense of humor. I think some of the skills I have are financial skills. I think I understand the city's finances very well, and I understand numbers very well, and I think that'll be beneficial. I think I have the ability to work with the staff and work with the city council and act as that person that can kind of facilitate the issues that are going on with the council and with the staff and with the community. I think that that's a real beneficial thing to have in this position. So
Dolan will use those skills to accomplish some specific goals for the city.
I think the first couple things I have to do, first of all, we have had recently some turnover in the city staff. We have a couple vacancies, senior level vacancies, and we have some people in acting positions. So I think the first priority is to go ahead and define what the organizational structure is going to be and make any changes that we need to make, and then go ahead and recruit and fill those positions. So that's going to be a high priority. And then I think the second high priority for me is preparing the 1988 budget. We have to present our proposed budget to council by September 1st, and that's sneaking up on us pretty fast. So I think for the next couple months, my top concerns will be the organization and the staffing, and then the 1988 budget.
And Mayor Larry Burkhardt has no doubt that the council's choice for city manager was the correct one.
This marks the end of a long period for all of us, and we have a new city manager on board that I think council feels very positive about, very very excited and encouraged, and I hope that the city manager is also excited about the prospects ahead of him. But we are very much pleased with the acceptance of Mr. Dolan in the position, and look forward very much to working with him.
And I'd just like to take this time to thank Gene publicly in presenting with this, and he can hang it on his wall or put it in his hope chest or something like that, and just appreciate it, Gene. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would just like to say that I enjoyed serving on the Cable Trust Committee and working with Jim. There's some fine folks down there. Good luck in the future. Nice to see you all again.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. May I have a word as a cable trustee? Mr. McLean, when we
Why don't people buckle up?
It's uncomfortable.
I've always had a fear of being trapped in a burning vehicle, wearing a belt and not be able to get out.
I'm not used to wearing a safety belt. I usually don't. I'm not real concerned about the law. I don't think they're going to enforce it at first. They're probably going to give out a lot of warnings. But I'm going to try and buckle up. But it's hard for me to get used to doing it.
Like it or not, buckling up is now the law. But not fastening your safety belt is only a secondary offense. That means officers cannot issue a citation for a seatbelt violation alone. You can only be charged for not buckling up if you've been stopped for another violation. However, some public officials believe that even this soft law will persuade more people to wear their belts.
The law really wasn't created to produce some kind of enforcement effort. It's designed to produce voluntary compliance and, to produce reduced injuries and traffic accidents. I think that it's pretty important, and it's something that's designed for the public safety, to reduce injuries and the loss of life, and it's something that I hope that the public gets involved in doing voluntarily, because that's certainly the intent. It's something
Still, the issue of regulating personal safety is a controversial one, and in our area, opinions vary.
We felt that people should be encouraged to look after their own safety, be responsible for their own selves, and that there are a number of criminal offenses for us to deal with out there without adding another one.
Weeds grow and grow and grow. But when weeds exceed 12 inches in height, they must be cut according to the Longmont City Code. And if weeds don't get cut, either due to negligence or abandoned property, complaints pour into the city. This time of year, Code Enforcement Inspector Diana Dunn receives about 10 complaints per day, and it's up to her to make sure the weeds get chopped.
There's a lot of research that is involved in finding out who owns the properties, and then we have to notify them to get the weeds cut. A lot of times the place will be in foreclosure, and our letters will come back to us, and then it's more difficult trying to find out who owns the property. When we've exhausted all of our means, we'll eventually go in and the city will cut the weeds, and we will bill whoever we think owns the property, and then eventually it will be assessed.
It's budget time again in Longmont. Every year during the months of May, June, July, and August, the Longmont City staff must develop a budget for presentation to the City Council on or before September 1st. And this year, as in years past, there's a gap between revenues and expenditures in the city's general fund. But that $1.2 million difference should be reduced. That means that although the budget isn't balanced yet, by the time Council reviews the budget in September, the gap should be closed.
Right now, we're looking at a fairly significant gap there, but at this point, it's fairly early in the process. We will be doing another 4 to 6 weeks worth of staff review prior to this going to the printer and then eventually to the City Council. So I'm, expect that gap will not be anywhere near $1.2 million by the time it gets to City Council.
That gap can be closed in several ways. First, the city staff evaluates how they're spending money, making sure it's spent as efficiently as possible. Secondly, City Council may examine the relationship between the amount of revenue and the quality of service provided by that money, a policy issue the Council addresses. And last but not least, the gap might be filled by raising taxes and fees, a revenue option the Council may have to implement. Another unpleasant alternative deals with the amount paid to the city's staff. 80% of the general fund budget is a personnel-related expense. That means city staff salaries may or may not be increased this year, depending upon the thickness of the city's pocketbook.
I think that it's an issue that Council's going to have to spend a lot of time on and give a lot of consideration to. I think our Council, I'm certain our Council has the desire to treat and pay our employees a fair wage, and it's a matter of the city's financial ability to afford that. Now we delayed it.
Regardless of how the gap is reduced, the City Council is required to adopt a budget by November 1st. The St. Vrain flows through Longmont Center, and soon these cyclists will be able to travel on the creek's banks. Phase 1 of the St. Vrain Greenway Project calls for the development of 7/10 of a mile of land from the Main Street Bridge, under Pratt Parkway, and ending at the Burlington Northern Railroad Bridge. The result will be a bikeway system similar to Boulder's adjacent to Boulder Creek. But the project's purpose isn't limited to providing a path for bicyclists and pedestrians. It involves enhancing the creek's natural beauty as well.
The main reason we're doing this trail system is to hopefully educate children as well and adults as well on the river and its whole history and its essential support within the city, and to provide a recreational amenity with the river.
$100,000 has been earmarked for the Greenway Project, a sum raised through the efforts of the St. Vrain Valley Foundation. But the remainder of the project will rely heavily on the support of the people of Longmont.
That it will be available, and it is something that we can look forward to doing this fall. It's going to be, in my opinion, a huge community effort because funding is so limited. And I'm going to be looking for a lot of volunteer help in the next couple of years in terms of donations of time and labor.
The realization of this project will clean up the St. Vrain and give these cyclists a roadway of their own. Special transit systems make sure a unique segment of Longmont's population gets where they want to go. Based in Boulder, STS has 2 vans in Longmont, providing transportation for people who have difficulty getting around. But the demand for rides is high, and driver Darlene Nells is certain another vehicle would mobilize more of Longmont's elderly and handicapped citizens.
Right now, with just the 2 vans in Longmont, there is no way we answer all the appointments that are asked for. We take people wherever they want to go, whether it's a beauty shop appointment, going to the bank, doctor's appointment, dental appointment, just anything they need to do. This gives
STS schedules rides by appointment and on a contractual basis as well. And the service is funded at all governmental levels, federal, state, county, and city. However, STS does request a 50-cent donation from its passengers by appointment.
Besides being funded by the government, we do ask for donations for trips to the grocery store and doctors and so forth, which is 50 cents each way. And everybody thinks that's just a real small amount to ask, but it is a donation, and if someone cannot afford that, or say if they're under Medicaid, other provisions are made and they also can ride. We turn no one down.
But the benefits from STS aren't reaped by the passengers alone. Drivers like Darlene enjoy each busy day at work.
We take a day at a time, and each day it's just a joy to be here, and people make my life. And if I can help somebody else be a little bit more happier, you know, I guess that's my goal.
The ability to be mobile, what most of us take for granted, STS and Darlene are providing for Longmont special citizens.
We're in the midst of construction, as most anybody who travels down Main Street will know. And we're in the process of finishing up our water main construction. And then we have another contract following right after that, putting in new water laterals to each building. And our breezeways should be open in about a week. And we've got some parking lot improvements underway, and those are also scheduled to be done middle of this month, which will add some 40 to 45 new parking spaces, which is much needed. And we're also finishing up negotiations for the second phase of our contract, which is new curbs and gutters and storm sewers downtown. We are in schedule, in fact a little bit ahead of schedule, but we're kind of anticipating mid-November completion for this year, which takes us all the way through what little good weather we'll have in the early winter. But we will complete the project next year.
City Manager Geoff Dolan has been officially on the job for a little over a month, and last week he accomplished some of the major goals of his administration. 3 people formerly serving in an acting capacity were named permanent directors of their respective departments. Phil Delvecchio is now head of community development, and within that department, Marta Bromschwig was appointed as planning director. In addition, Jim Golden is now Longmont's finance director.
I think they're all excellent professionals. They know their fields very well. They all have, it's important to me that they be team players, and they're all, I think, going to be good team players. I think it's also very important to me that they understand the role of the staff and the role of the council in the process of city government, and I think they all fully understand that we're here as administrators and that the council sets policy and that we're here to implement the policy, and so I think for all those reasons I think they'll just do a super job.
The newly created Electric Department and Department of Water and Wastewater were formerly combined as municipal utilities. Jeff Gould is now director of the Electric Department, and Jim Sinia was placed as acting director of the city's Water and Wastewater Division. Dolan views these recent announcements as major administrative accomplishments.
I think it's you know, an indication that we're moving forward and that we're bringing some continuity into the staff, and that we're making some decisions, and I think all of those people have done and will continue to do a good job for the city.
What kind of a search did you conduct for instance, Marta's position or Phil's?
I didn't.
You didn't?
No search.
No search.
I appointed them based on my observation of their experience and their skills and their capabilities. I felt like
its board and its staff for the fine work which they have. There you go. 3.
We have several other projects underway. Of course, we did the groundbreaking for the major project, which we call Streetscape. But these breezeways represented our first major improvement to downtown, and so we wanted to make it a little special ceremony today to get that project kicked off. We're a little bit ahead of schedule on the waterline improvements, and we're a little bit behind on the curb and gutter improvements, so overall we're pretty much right on schedule. We've got some parking lot improvements underway. They're almost complete, and they're running a few days behind, but otherwise doing just fine.
As well as at the sister
The message to employers is basically this: hire U.S. citizens and aliens who are authorized to work in the United States. That's the meat of the Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986. But after 15 years of heated congressional debate, the form of the new immigration law contains many details. The law requires anyone hired after November 6th of 1986 to fill out a special form called an I-9 in order to verify employment eligibility. In other words, new employees must either prove they are U.S. citizens or that they are authorized to work by the Immigration and Naturalization Service. The law also provides for an amnesty program requiring illegal aliens to have lived in the U.S. since January 1st, 1982. And that means coming up with substantial documentation for the legalization process.
Basically, the individual needs a completed application, documentation to support residency and financial responsibility, photographs, fingerprints, and a completed medical examination. We are now asking people to basically come out of the shadows and document their existence over the last 5.5 years when they have actually tried to hide or obliterate this document trail, and we're now having to recreate it, and it's no small matter.
However, a special provision of the law allows illegal aliens to continue working in this country if they indicate they are applying for legalization. That rule expires on September 1st. In addition, the deadline for agriculture workers is extended until November 30th of 1988. That's the last day farm workers can apply for temporary authorization, and there are limitations affecting this part of the law.
Now, within the context of the agricultural worker, that involves all perishable agricultural commodities. Those are the key words. However, with respect to the Longmont area, that specifically excludes all of the folks dealing with animals. That is, the dairy products, the poultry products, turkey farms, eggs, and the like do not come under the agricultural worker provisions. And
no matter what type of work is involved, the new law gives employers a great deal more responsibility.
Basically, in my judgment, what has happened as a result of this act, one, we have people that are permitted to become legalized. The flip side of the coin is that we have now made all the employers INS agents for purposes of work authorization, and basically they are going to be doing part of immigration's job.
For information, employers can call an INS Employee Relations Specialist at 361-0686. And persons who wish to apply for legalization can obtain help in Longmont at Our House, 313 Collier, Sunday afternoons from 12 to 3 and Mondays from 7 to 9 p.m.